I'm a Star Wars fan. The name has Darth in it. It's Darth Microtransaction. I have played most Star Wars games. I actually like most Star Wars products. I'm not actually a big hater of the franchise. So when things Star Wars related comes out, most of the time I'm excited. Just most of the time. Now, I understand that there's some people that don't like where the IP has gone, that aren't big fans of the Disney acquisition. I myself wasn't as big of a fan of the sequels for sure. The whole holding up the dagger thing, is a little weird for me. But outside of that, I mostly like most things related to Star Wars. I got a good share of lightsabers and just kind of some collectible, Star Wars Lego kit. And when I have a decent amount of collectibles just because I'm a big fan. It's my favorite IP on the planet as it sits. So because of that, I like to absorb a lot of Star Wars related content just as a fan of the genre. Actually, little known fact, my first thing I ever made a YouTube channel on was a Star Wars game. So that's where I come from. And I have enjoyed all of these games significantly. In fact, my favorite MMO you might think is RuneScape. Well, it is as it stands, but that's because my favorite MMO is now dead, unless it's an emulated version, which was Star Wars Galaxies. My point is, I like Star Wars. Most of the times I lean positive. I'll just absorb the content as it comes, and I'm pretty much an ideal consumer. I will buy Star Wars products and enjoy them. That's about it. Pretty simple guy. So when a new Star Wars game comes out, more times than not, I find myself excited because it is more Star Wars content for me to engage with. Unfortunately, the quantity of Star Wars games that comes out is fairly insignificant. We don't get many Star Wars games, and one of the most recent examples of one we do get was a very poorly done remake of a game that had already been out years ago. Of course, I'm referring to Battlefront, like the classic remastered edition, right? Whatever you want to call it, which is actually worse than the original. So because of this, I get put into a position where I feel as a Star Wars fan that I am continually let down by Star Wars products, which is unfortunate. Now, there's a few Star Wars games that have come out I liked. I like The Fallen Order, Survivor. I liked these games. These were all right. I'm not really a big single-player guy, but I do enjoy those games regardless because, once again, it is Star Wars. So we have another game coming out here, and there are some complaints, which aren't really the complaints you're going to see in this video. There's people, and let's just talk about the game real quick. So there's Star Wars Outlaws coming out. There's multiple controversies and reasons that people do not like this game. One of which is not that they've actually played it yet. The game isn't out. Okay, people haven't played it, and the criticisms are based upon everything else around it. So there's some criticisms about the price and what you get for the price, which is what I'm going to get into here today. There's some criticisms around the protagonist, which is something I don't really care as much about. You're welcome to your own opinion. It is what it is. All right, doesn't really bother me as much, but it does bother some people. Now, in terms of how I feel about this game, as someone who more times than not is willing to pay a Star Wars fee for a Star Wars game and try it out, I ask myself the question of, okay, $70 is a high base price for a game. I understand that we could always make the argument inflation. I paid near that for Super Nintendo games back in the day. So be it. But then I have to ask myself why we need a $109.99 pre-order edition that gives me 3-day early access. Now, you might look at this and think, okay, well, I would like to play the game as early as it releases, so therefore I'm willing to buy the early access. But you don't actually get to buy just the early access if you're somebody that gets, okay with early access. There's another controversy around that. I myself personally don't like early accesses. I feel like I get shoehorned into them because most of the times they're around games like MMOs, etc., where if you don't have 3-day early access, you're actually at a disadvantage compared to most people. This is a single-player game that, in my opinion, there's no reason to have an early access for. So already, I'm a little bit annoyed in terms of how they're handling the monetization on this, because we don't need early access in a single-player, like Uncharted style of game. There's not really a reason to have this in terms of an argumentative point where the company could be like, if you want to be in early, play with your friends on the same day. There's none of that in this. This is just a game. You're literally releasing the game 3 days later just to charge the people more that want to play it on when the original release date should have been anyway. And it's separate from the fact that the game could be good. I actually don't care if the game is good or not. The 3-day early access It started, and the first one of these I bought was Lost Ark. And in Lost Ark, it sort of made sense because this is an MMO. Those by nature are typically a little bit competitive. It was an ARPG MMO, but you get what I'm saying here. And so it's like, okay, I kind of begrudgingly welled out for the 3-day early access so that I'm there on day one and can be in when the servers go online, etc. And then it's kind of a pay-to-win game anyway. Like you can well out in Lost Ark. So it's like, okay, I kind of get that is what this game is. You either want to play these types of games or you don't. But in this game, I really don't see any reason at all for this other than just to get more money out of the consumer, which feels bad because of one other point here. So if you look at this, maybe I wanted to just buy the early access. I'm like, fine, you get another $5 out of me or whatever for the early access. But they tie it with their season pass. And what the season pass is guaranteeing that you get the 2 other DLCs. Now, you might look at this and think originally that, okay, DM, well, that's where your 40 extra bucks are. You get the early access, but what you're really buying is the DLCs. But then I think of a situation like Diablo, in which I purchased a product already, and I'm not really willing to purchase the expansion unless I already know the game is solidified and good. My problem with this is they tie in the DLCs with the early access as an incentive to get you the pre-purchase an expansion off of a game if you don't even know if it's good yet. So if I pre-order this, I'm already guaranteeing them the money for the next iterations of the game that I don't even know if I like yet. So that's what makes me annoyed about this isn't so much that they're trying to sell DLC, isn't so much even that they're selling the early access, which does piss me off in games, but so be it. Okay, maybe that ship is sailed. It's the fact that the only way to get the early access is to also guarantee that they get my money for the DLCs off of a game that I don't even know if I like. They're guaranteeing a second purchase. There's other points I could make, like the $130 version gives cosmetic skins, which again, in a single player game, just put them in the game under achievements and unlocks literally. Anyway, I could go down this. I don't really mind paying for a digital art book or OSTs. I've never minded that. So this is fine with me. Okay. But the other way you could get early access is by what? Subscribing to their monthly platform in order to get access to the game in the 3-day early access, which again is a single player linear story game. So there's a lot of controversy around this game. Some of it has, like I say, has to do with like some people just don't want to play as a girl as a character. Some people are upset about the price being as much. Some people are upset about the monthly fees. Like there's all of this controversy. The one that really is ticking me off, though, as I look at it, is the guaranteeing and requirement of me to purchase effectively their next iterations of the game in order to play this one. If I only want to try out and play the original game on the early access, which is basically what the original launch day would have been, they pushed everyone back 3 days in order to actually sell this. If I want to play it on day one with the other people that are doing this, then I have to buy $40 more of product, not just for the early access fee, but to fund their DLCs as well. And what is doubly annoying is if this was any other IP or something like that, people aren't going to do this. But this is Star Wars. So the Star Wars fans, once again, get leverage to have to spend more money than they should on a product that hopefully is good, but maybe not. And then what we really get out of it is it's a Star Wars skinned adventure, basically. So does it really matter? No, not really. You can just wait the 3 days, not buy it, wait and play it, but they purposely are tying the 3-day early access with pre-selling the DLC. And I don't like that it seems like the line constantly moves where, with some of the games, it's like, okay, pay 10 extra bucks, 3-day early access, $20 or whatever, or buy the Founder Edition, you get it with it, but comes with all this other stuff. Now it's like the version you're buying for the 3-day early access, like you don't actually get anything. Like this is just selling you more stuff. This isn't actually like, okay, because you're doing like a Founders Edition, you get more stuff. No, you're just buying the DLC in advance. And maybe they need to do this with the other ones. I mean, Fallen Order, when you pre-ordered it, you just got some cosmetic skins, which again, way better than the 3-day early access. But now we have another game, which is a single player story adventure game with early access for some reason. And then you also have to buy the DLCs at the same time. You don't need to move the goalpost. I mean, why does it have to be more monetized than Fallen Order? Fallen Order was a decent game. And also later on, they just gave the pre-order bonuses to everyone literally anyway for free. So not a fan of 3-day early access on a single player game, which is even more wild to me. And not a fan, in order to actually acquire early access, you can't just pre-order and get early access. If I don't like pre-ordering anyway. I don't even know if I like the game yet or seen reviews. But if you're going to do pre-orders, at least give us the early access tied to it. Not a fan that I have to pre-order and prepay for DLCs that I don't even know if I'm going to want yet in order to get the early access. So it kind of seems to me like Star Wars fans get seen as a big bag of money sometimes, where it's like, hey, there's a Star Wars IP. Let's just make whatever game we want, slap a Star Wars IP on it, and they're going to buy it because people like DM exist who just love Star Wars products, and there's the proof of it, right? Yeah, you got me. I'm not going to buy the pre-order on this because I think it's annoying. Not going to buy this one. I'll wait and see what the reviews are, but I definitely feel like it's completely unnecessary in a single-player game. Think that's obvious. The rest of the controversy, you guys can feel however you want about the rest of it. This is the part that has me. Like, I don't even see people talking about tying the DLC to the 3-day early access or the guaranteed DLC sales. But anyway, that's just one man's opinion.